Well, shit. I really did not ever want to have to go live about something like this, huh? Hi, everyone joining us today. It's Zander of LS11 Universe, and it's been a weird 3 months in the world of wrestling, and I have remained fairly silent about it, at least publicly. Privately, I've talked to a few people about it and my thoughts, but last night has officially caused it to be over 40 people that have lost their jobs within the WWE since April. And so I feel like it's finally time that I start talking because as a creator in this wrestling sphere, it does feel like it's kind of a responsibility I have to talk about serious topics when they come around in wrestling. Hey, Zach. Hey, everyone. I'm not going to be the most responsive today. I'm not going to be just dropping my stuff mid sentence to answer questions. If you have questions, you're allowed to ask them, but just know you need to be patient, everyone, because I will get to them when I get to them. I just need to talk about this. I'm going to have Twitter pull up in a separate window because, according to, I believe it was Andrew Zarian, I believe it was Andrew Zarian. Let me double check just to be 100% sure before I before I misquote anyone. Okay, yes. So when Sean Ross Sapp last night tweeted out about the releases last night, which was, of course, Mercedes Martinez, Giant Zangier, Asher Hale, Zakarian Smith, Tyler Rust, Stephen Smith, Leon Ruff, Kona Reeves, Ari Sterling, Jake Atlas, Bronson Reed, and Bobby Fish. Andrew Zarian responded with, and more to come, which is a very scary thing to see. Let's see. Let's go over the chat real quick. Text says, "Don't be misquoting." I agree. Matthew says, "I think if we go back into quarantine, AEW is in trouble with all the contracts they have." We'll see. Honestly, I can't say one way or the other how it's going to go. But in the last 4 months, WWE has fired 45 on-screen wrestlers, and it has ranged everywhere from NXT talent that don't appear very often, like Giant Zangier or Asher Hale or Stephen Smith, who we've either never seen or have barely seen, to guys who just held the NXT North American title in the last year, like Leon Ruff and Bronson Reed, or Bobby Fish, who was part of the Undisputed Era, one of the biggest things in wrestling in probably the last 5 years, I would say. Arguably the biggest faction in WWE in the last 5 years, arguably. And then on the main roster, you've got guys like Braun Strowman, who was released literally weeks after fighting on the main event of a pay per view, or Bray Wyatt, who was the top selling merchandise seller last year or the year before that. Excuse me. It's baffling to me, and of course, what really baffles me, and this is something I'm sure you've all heard 1,000 times, is we all know the reasons that they're giving, which is, it's, "Hey kid, this is John Laurinaitis. Sorry kid, budget cuts." That's what it is every time. And it's, how is there so much budget to cut when you're making record profits? Now, I don't know anything about running a business. I can't claim that I do. I've never run a business. I don't think I ever will run a business. Of course, I can't say one way or the other, but I've never run a business, so I don't know. But it doesn't feel like, and I'll put this into perspective for you. When you're making record profits, I don't think 100 on-screen performers have to lose their jobs in the last year. Since 2020, over 100 wrestlers have been fired by WWE. Or is it 100 employees in general? I had that a little bit mixed up. But 100 employees in general have lost their job within WWE in the last year, since 2020, which is insane. And yes, this was bound to happen one day because WWE was overinflating itself with talent when AEW first came around. Oh, we need to sign Gallows Anderson to $1 million deals for 5 years, and we need to sign the Miz. We need to sign this person. All these indie talent, come here. And they were going through that for the last couple of years, from 2019 to 2020, obviously. But obviously, cuts were going to have to happen eventually. Cuts have to happen in every business eventually, but not like this. Absolutely not like this. I'm not defending WWE at all right now. I am just trying to wrap my head around what the hell happened this year. And I will eventually talk about how this affects LS11 Universe, but LS11 Universe, our silly little video game series, it's the least important matter of this. This is real life people losing their real life jobs. And Sean Ross Sapp put this into perspective as well last night. Out of all of these people released since last year, let me find the tweet. Like I said, I don't want to misquote anyone, so I really am going to find the tweet just to make sure that I'm correct. Because, as I said, I absolutely don't want to misquote anybody, because this is one of those topics where if I misquote somebody, I could genuinely mess things up, and that would not be good. Okay, so yes, it was actually over 100 wrestlers released since 2020, which is crazy. Just crazy. And I believe the stat is that only 18%, maybe less than 18% of those 100 wrestlers are contracted elsewhere now. So that is essentially, if that's 18% of over 100, that's roughly 18 of them have full-time contracts elsewhere. That is 82 people who don't have jobs now after last year from WWE, which is baffling to me. And it's like, you're back on the road. You have fans back. You're gonna have John Cena, the biggest star in the WWE in the last 15 years, 20 years. It's almost been 20 years since he debuted. So biggest star they've made, probably the biggest at least the biggest homegrown star they've made since The Rock and Stone Cold, literally said earlier this week, the longer they continue to bet on aging prospects, that makes WWE's future less and less stable. So what's WWE's solution to this? Budget cuts, man. We just gotta get rid of NXT. Like that is 13 people from NXT last night, and I went to the NXT roster. There's like 40 people on the NXT roster now. And I was talking with Ray about this. There's roughly 40 people still full-time active competitors in the NXT roster. I don't count Karrion Kross. He's practically on Raw at this point. He's probably going to be dropping the belt to Samoa Joe in 2 weeks. But roughly 40 wrestlers, and NXT has 4 singles championships and 2 sets of tag titles. I'm just counting the men's and women's all together. That's 8 people who are champions. That's roughly 20% of your roster is a champion any given time in NXT. And it baffles me. And apparently they're going to repackage the entirety of NXT with a new presentation, new logos and everything. And giving it a fresh start is one thing. But to say that you're also going to have more emphasis on younger talent while in the same breath releasing these guys like Bronson Reed, who, let me pull it up real quick. Bronson Reed is 32. Okay, he's 32. So he's no spring chicken. But then you got guys like Leon Ruff, who's 25. Or let's see, Tyler Rust was his name? Tyler Rust, 34, fair. But still, my point is, you're firing all these people who are still in fairly good ages to still wrestle. Your WWE champion, Bobby Lashley, is what, 45, I think? Let me look. Yeah, Bobby Lashley is 45 years old. Roman Reigns, your Universal Champion, is 36. Like, Roman Reigns is as old as a lot of the guys in NXT. But you're going to sit here and say we're going to have an emphasis on these young guys, but then in the same breath, release a lot of guys who are supposed to be the future of the company And how are you going to build the future of the company when everyone stays in NXT for 6, 7 years before even getting called up? Like, I love Finn Balor, but they waited way longer than any of us thought they should to bring him up. They waited way longer than they should have on Samoa Joe. Both those guys came around in 2014, or Joe came around in 2015, and they didn't get called up till 2016 and 2018. Or was it 2017? It was 2017 for Joe, my bad. But yeah, like, you wait so long to call these people up when so many of them are main roster ready. And there are some that you could just send straight to the main roster and they'd be ready to go. And Main Event Wrestling says, it seems like they really are about to sell the company with all these releases. You've got to think that's like the best case scenario, is that they're just trying to sweeten the pot to get the most money they can for an eventual company sale. And then hopefully, like, I guess the end game here, if they were to sell, is that a network will get the company and it will have a consistent team of people running it, instead of, I hate to say this, but this is exactly how I put it, a just insanity fueled 70-year-old millionaire who changes his mind with the wind because he had a piece of bad steak, or he accidentally heard someone sneeze across the room. And so, well, there goes your job, pal. It's insane to me. And if they do sell the company, then yeah, maybe a network that can actually run it as a team would rehire a lot of these people and would put an emphasis on the future of the company. Because, like John Cena said it himself, like I just said, you can't always rely on these old names. Goldberg is in what? How old is Goldberg anyway? Like, everyone knows I'm not a Goldberg guy. Let me look it up here. Bill Goldberg is 54 years old. John Cena is 44 years old. The Undertaker is 56 years old. You can't just keep relying on these guys. Brock Lesnar, 44. Like, you can't just keep relying on these nostalgia pops all the time. Like, who else do they bring around a lot? Goldberg and Undertaker and Cena are the only ones I can think of right now. And Undertaker, it seems like they finally have let him retire, but he's the Undertaker. He'll probably be back if they hold enough money in front of his face. But, like, it seems like every time WWE has a problem, their solution is a Goldberg-shaped Band-Aid. And Goldberg, like I said, is 56, 54, right? 54. Goldberg's 54. He's not going to be able... He can't do the jackhammer anymore. He could barely do it on Dolph Ziggler. He's not going to hit Bobby Lashley with a jackhammer at SummerSlam. We all know this. He's not going to jackhammer Lashley. So the only thing he can do is a spear. And how much longer is he going to be able to do that? And how much longer are these people who are going to pop for a Goldberg return going to keep watching? What happens when John Cena is gone to Hollywood permanently? Like, let's say him losing to Roman Reigns at SummerSlam, if he does, is it? And that's where John Cena retires. It's ridiculous to me. Let's see. Main Event Wrestling says Shawn Michaels was also used like that, and he had the perfect final match against The Undertaker. Agreed. Tech says, I always thought when they fired people, it was part of the show story. And there are some times where if they get fired on screen, it is part of the show story, but this is a case of they have actually fired these people and put out press releases, is what's going on. Just for those that aren't aware of how it goes. Like, they have released 100 wrestlers from their contract with the company, meaning they have legitimately lost their living in the last 300, or since April 2020. And it's insane to me. And it's like, you look at all of those names, and like Sean Ross Sapp said, 18% of them are contracted elsewhere. That's it. That's it. It's baffling. Like, I keep trying to start a train of thought, and I can't get on a train of thought because it's so baffling to me what has happened. And like I said, I will kind of address how this is going to affect LS11 Universe towards the end, because that, as I said, my little fantasy series here that Ray and I do is the least important part of all this. But I'm scared to open Twitter. I'm scared to open Twitter at this point because I'm always scared for what's going to happen. I'm scared for. I'm afraid I'm going to open up Twitter and see that 5 more. I'm not going to say any names. I'm not going to say any names because I do not want to start any kind of rumors or accidentally start anything that is not true. I'm not spreading false information. That's not how I do things. I'm scared I could open Twitter 5 minutes from now and another top name gets released, or someone that I'm a huge fan of gets released, or this, that, and the other. Like people said last week when Bray Wyatt got released that they were scared for their jobs now. They were like, I thought my job is secure, but clearly it's not. And it's like, if we go to WWE's roster, let's go to the WWE roster page real quick. And it's so strange to me. It's like, if we go to NXT, here's what your NXT roster is right now. Active wrestlers, not counting injuries. Adam Cole, who could very well be on his way out depending on how roster or on how contract negotiations go. Aaliyah, who's apparently being called up. Ashante Adonis, Austin Theory, Boa, Cameron Grimes, Candice LeRae, Dakota Kai, Danny Burch is injured, Dexter Loomis, Drake Maverick, Ember Moon, Frankie Monet, Indy Hartwell, Io Shirai, Isaiah Swerve Scott, James Drake, Jesse Kamea, Joaquin Wilde, Johnny Gargano, Casey Catanzaro. That's 20 so far. Caden Carter, I'm not counting Karrion Kross. He's practically on the main roster. Kushida, Kyle O'Reilly, LA Knight, Nash Carter, Oni Lorcan, Pete Dunne, who's apparently going through contract negotiations, Raquel Gonzalez, Raul Mendoza, Ridge Holland, Roderick Strong, Samoa Joe, Santos Escobar, Saray, Scarlett, who doesn't even really wrestle, but we're just going with it, Timothy Thatcher, Tommaso Ciampa, Xia Li, Zach Gibson, Zoe Stark. That's roughly 45. I might have miscounted, but I believe that's 45. A roster of 45 is not that bad, but when you're apparently calling a bunch of people up to Raw and SmackDown, like Austin Theory is on his way back to Raw or SmackDown any day now. He's been working dark matches. He's about to be gone. Adam Cole, I'm not saying, this is not an official report. This is an opinion. This is speculation and opinion. I'm prefacing that in case this somehow ends up as a clip on Twitter or something. I'm not saying it should. I don't think Adam Cole is sticking around after last night. Unless he put pen to paper last night, I think that's got to be the straw that broke the camel's back for him. Aaliyah is on her way up to the main roster, so I've been told. Like, I don't know, man. And then you go to SmackDown's roster has been abysmal for months. Like, SmackDown has, let's see, I'm not going to read out everyone's names, but they've got 2, 3, 4. Bailey's injured, so I won't count her right now. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Commander Aziz. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Natalia's injured. 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. SmackDown's got a roster of 30. There are less people on the 2-hour flagship show. SmackDown's supposed to be their big show right now because of the Fox deal, and there are less people there than there are in developmental. I just, like, as on-screen performers is mainly what I mean there. Like, and then we go to Raw, and let's see. Raw is doing a little better. Like, at least I can scroll a little farther down on Raw, but their show's the same every week. It's, like I said, it's mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling what is going on with this company. And I wish that I had more I could say on the matter. I really wish I could say more on the matter. Like, all these people getting released is just, as I said, baffling. And I'm becoming a broken record at this point, and I'm well aware of that. But, like, you're firing people for the sake of firing them at this point. Like, I'm just some dork on the internet who dyed half his hair red and wears a shirt with his name on it because he's a mark for himself. I've never run a business. I've never run a real-life wrestling company. But when you release over 100 people in the span of a year and 3 months, and more expected to come, you don't get to fucking ask why no one's watching your shows. You don't get to ask why no one cares about your developmental brand when you just gutted its roster. You don't get to act like everything is fine. Tech says it perfectly. It's lunacy. Just there's an Alpha Rad clip. Alpha Rad's one of my favorite YouTubers. There's a clip I need from him. There's a clip I need from Alpha Rad that's just editor's note. What the fuck? I need that clip. Because that's all I can say is, what the fuck? Like I said, I'm a dork in a basement with half his head dyed red, his face on a shirt, and a giant Jigglypuff in the background. Yes, I'm getting out of my parents' basement in 2 weeks. That's not the point at hand here. When even I can tell you you're running your company wrong, record profits aren't everything. When you're making record profits and have been for 2 years, this many people don't need to lose their jobs. Let's look at the comments so I can cool down a little bit. Main Event Wrestling says, they said that there are more cuts expected to be released, and all these cuts have gutted the roster. They need some call-ups on the main roster because this makes no sense. I agree. Ray pops into the chat. Ray says, AEW has already gone in the red signing the few they have, and it's not like Ring of Honor or TNA are overflowing with cash. I absolutely agree with you. That AEW does need to slow down the signings as well. Like, I get it with Daniel Bryan and CM Punk, and if Adam Cole is leaving, Adam Cole and Bray Wyatt. I get those four. And I get getting some smaller signings to your roster as well, like help your a bit. I hate to put it this way. I love AEW, but it's got to be said to help your abysmal women's division. That's got to be done. And this is not me trying to turn this around on AEW, but I'm just going to say that little bit there. Like, do I watch AEW week to week? Not right now, but I don't have cable. As soon as I move, I want cable, so I probably will make time on my Wednesday nights to watch AEW, because it would be nice to watch a wrestling product that likes me back. And as Tech said, with multiple personalities. They're clones, but close, yeah. Clones. He says, I am creating a personality for myself to use for college for a game show I'm hosting soon. But anyway, yeah, so, shit, man. This stream is just kind of, I've been worked up about this all night. And I will talk about the future of LS11 Universe in a moment as well. I've been worked up so much about this last night that I needed this stream because I have lunch with my girlfriend's family in 2 hours, and I do not want to show up there heated by any means at all. So this is kind of my way of calming down. Omega Project says the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting things to change, and yet WWE continues to do this. 100% agree with you. Thank you. That is the perfect way to put it. This is the WWE is the definition of insanity. There's your pull quote for this video. WWE is the definition of insanity. Zander Carver 2021. You can quote me on that. I don't care. Put it on a fucking t-shirt. Okay, maybe that'll go on a t-shirt at some point. I can't put WWE on a t-shirt, actually, but you get my point. But anyway, yeah. So I guess I don't want to speculate where everyone's going for obvious reasons. Like, I think for obvious reasons is a sentence I have said a ton today, isn't it? Let's see here. Let me get to Sean Ross Sapp here because that's how I'll find the list. So let's look at the list of people who were released. And I do 100% apologize if I don't know everything that's going on. I don't watch week to week. Bobby Fish was literally just on TV like last week, if not this week, against Roderick Strong. Bronson Reed was the North American champion a couple weeks ago. Jake Atlas, he's kind of been floating around, but he's been on TV consistently. Ari Sterling has been on TV consistently. Kona Reeves, I know at one point in time, you couldn't escape him on NXT. He was there every week. Leon Ruff, literally just signed last year. Stephen Smith, I've honestly never seen. Tyler Rust is part of the Diamond Mine. So what's going on there? Like, that's a member of a faction that just debuted, is now released. And you've already released the two members it was supposed to have, Arturo Ruas and Marina Shafir. Yeah, Marina Shafir. I'd make sure I was getting the right one. Zachariah Smith, I don't know anything about. Asher Hale, I believe, is on TV sometimes at least. Giant Zangier, I don't know anything about. And Mercedes Martinez has been kept consistently on TV and in feuds lately. She just got injured, but it's ridiculous. Like, and you got to imagine, like, there are opportunities for all these guys and girls outside of NXT and WWE, and we all know this. Their opportunities will come as long as they keep at it. But it's heartbreaking to see anyone lose their job when they don't deserve it. It's heartbreaking. Like, Bronson Reed is the one that personally breaks my heart most. Like, you guys all know, or for those that watch the channel consistently know, I'm a big Bronson Reed fan. Like, I've been a fan of his for a year now, and to see him lose his job is extremely heartbreaking for me personally. Bobby Fish is another one that hits home because I've always been a big Undisputed Era fan. I guess that kind of derails any potential UE reunion one day. Like, but it's insane, and I do look forward for what these guys have coming soon. I don't know what's next for any of them, obviously. I think no matter where he goes, Bronson Reed is going to be a star. Same for Mercedes Martinez. They will both be stars no matter where they go. Bobby Fish, he's getting up there in age. He's in his 40s at this point. Let me look him up real quick. I want to say he's 44. Yes, he is 44. He is literally the age of he's literally just like 6 months younger than my dad. So Vince McMahon is the definition of insanity, but distinction without a difference at this point. Yep, pretty much. But yeah, so Bobby Fish, he could go back to Ring of Honor. He might just go train somewhere, like be a trainer, might be a coach. I don't know. I don't know what's next for any of these guys. I have rambled for 30 minutes now, though, and so I guess Ray, I believe, is at work right now, so he can't be here. Yeah, my dad's 44, Tech. My dad and I are 24 years apart in age. Or my dad's 45 right now, actually. My dad is 45 now. He just turned 45 in April. My bad. So, with more releases to come, it's scary. But Ray, I believe, is working right now, so he can't get in the StreamYard, or I'd bring him in. But I believe it's just me right now, so I technically, like, Ray and I are co-writers for the channel, but I guess I'm technically the head of the channel. I guess. I don't know. I see it as a partnership, but it just depends on the day. Anyway, I guess as the head of the channel, I need to kind of make a formal address of how this will affect the universe going forward. And for those that watch the universe mode, well, here you go. This is pretty much what I can say. These releases have hit home, obviously, throughout the last few months. Just across the last year in general, they've all hit home. A lot of these guys we had plans for, like Bronson Reed literally just debuted on Raw last week. Last Monday, and he was in our Royal Rumble. Bobby Fish is literally a tag team champion right now. Bobby Fish is literally one half of our tag team champions on SmackDown right now, and I'm just doing my best not to raise my voice and to remain calm right now. Bray Wyatt is in the middle of a storyline right now. So many of these people are in the middle of stuff, and it is heartbreaking to lose them from the series. I am sure I will be addressing this 1,000 times in the next 7 weeks. I am pre-recorded through WrestleMania. I am not re-recording anything before, during, or the show itself of WrestleMania. Everything that's happening there has been set in stone and recorded since May, or since June. Since the last wave of releases, the one that had Murphy in it. It's right after that. Get a headphone in so you can hear it. Yeah, Ray, go ahead and get a headphone in. You probably want to do that because I mean it's stuff you and I talked about already, but I feel like you should probably hear kind of the the statement I'm going to make sure I don't say anything I shouldn't. But yeah, just to recap, Murphy was our next big star. Aleister Black was days away from a return when we lost him. I was literally setting up to record his return, and then he got released. Okay. So we're going to carry on through WrestleMania at least. So Bronson Reed and Bobby Roode, not Bobby Roode, Bobby Fish. Bobby Fish. There's a lot of Bobbies in this company. Bobby Fish and Bronson Reed will still be featured. Oh, yes, and the infamy of EC3. EC3 days, as Ray has dubbed him. But yeah, Bobby Fish and Bronson Reed will continue to be featured on the show. They will both be, at least in the build-up to WrestleMania, will be there. I can neither confirm nor deny if they're at WrestleMania. Until Ray and I have an official creative meeting one-on-one, I will just say bear with us. We are going to make some changes to LS11 Universe. And we are going to carry on. And we're going to figure out how we will respond to this. It's not fun running a series that can change at the snap of their fingers because of budget cuts, as they call them. It's not fun. It's heartbreaking. A little discouraging sometimes, but it's unfortunately how it goes sometimes. And so sometime this week, probably, just when Ray has time off work, and so do I, we'll sit down and we'll discuss some things. I really want to wait and see where things go in the Adam Cole negotiations as well. And LS11 Universe is not over, quite obviously. We're not quitting. We're not done. This is not it for us. Just expect us to find new ways to deal with the ever-changing insanity of the WWE. Get off at 2 today. Well, I unfortunately have plans today. Otherwise, I would just talk to you then. But maybe when I get home. If you're still up when I get home, we'll chat then, Ray. My plans just happen to start at 2. But yeah. So we will find a way to recover from losing these players to our universe. We will work it out. Obviously, if we lose Adam Cole, that's a big shot. We'll be losing the guy that is literally our world heavyweight champion right now and was our first NXT champion. Of course, Pete Dunne has contract negotiations going on right now as well. That'd be another heartbreaking one to lose. But would I blame them if they left? No, I wouldn't. So I think I've said all that I can say on the matter. I think. I don't know. Let me check something real quick. I just realized that we have the Streamlabs link and I haven't had StreamYard or Streamlabs open. So let me open up Streamlabs just to make sure real quick that I'm not missing out on anything. Let me find LS11 Universe. Where's it at? Okay, go back. There we go. Just make sure we didn't miss any donations or anything before I go. I'd hate to miss anything like that. Does not appear as if we have. So I am going to end the stream now. Man, this was a tough one to do. Yeah, at least no one was released midstream is the best way to put it, Ray. And if there are more releases to actually come, well, here's one last report before I go. A couple of dark matches before SmackDown last night. Keith Lee, a Raw star, wrestled NXT star Austin Theory before SmackDown last night, and Dakota Kai wrestled Aaliyah. So I expect to see Austin Theory post SummerSlam. Aaliyah probably the same. Dakota Kai, I guess, just depends on if she beats Raquel or not. But that's a little bit of a bright note there. Is hopefully these guys will get some opportunities. There is no easy way to end a stream like this, is there? So I guess I'm just gonna go. I'll see you guys soon.